Welcome to Facebook Live, guys. We're on StreamYard with Byron Smith for his promotional interview. In Australia, of course. So what part of Australia are we in, Byron?
I'm in a suburb called Cheltenham, which is just outside of Melbourne, probably about half-hour drive from Melbourne. So southern part of Australia.
Okay, yeah. Well, Cheltenham, we've got Cheltenham in England as well. So
yes.
Yes. Have you been there at all?
No, I haven't. But being Australia being a colonial outpost, we have a lot of names that cross over with English city names. Yeah. So strong English heritage here, and Melbourne has a lot of English style architecture as well.
I know. I've never been to Australia, but I'd love to go. I'd love to go sometime. I know it's like 20 hours on a plane though. It's like ridiculous.
It is. It's a really long flight. I've been to Europe, and I've got to tell you, it's a long haul. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You need lots of sleeping pills. Get you through.
In it for the long haul, yeah. So, what's it like with? Just talk briefly. What's going on with the lockdown over there? What's it all like with the virus stuff?
Yeah, so we had probably one of the longest lockdowns in Melbourne of anywhere that I've heard of. It went for more than 6 months at around stage 3 and 4. And we've really just come out of that in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And some shopkeepers have to wear masks now. But apart from that, we're allowed to go around with anywhere we want. There's no mask restrictions or anything. So we're pretty much clear. There haven't been any cases in Melbourne for about 4 weeks now, which is really great.
That's pretty decent. Yeah. That's pretty good, because in the UK we're suffering a little bit, and we've got this new strain now that's happened down south. Right? Yeah, down in London, down in the capital. So we're suffering quite a bit, and we're going into further lockdowns. It looks like. And we've got these tier standards where you get tier 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
And tier 4 now. Tier 4 is full lockdown.
Yes.
So we are pretty on our ass a little bit. But we are.
Yeah. Well, lockdown was kind of bittersweet for me, because it really provided the first opportunity for me to really work fully on my music. And I really only started as a solo artist in March and April of this year. And it coincided with the start of the lockdown. I thought, here's an opportunity. I have lots of time on my hands. I'm really going to throw myself into it. And since then, I've put out 5 songs, and I've got another one coming in January. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know that with all this coronavirus stuff, the social aspect, open mics, gigs, it's just gone. You know, I was talking to some musicians before on previous interviews saying exactly the same thing. It's just the whole aspect is just so down, you know. Hopefully it'll come back again. Hopefully we'll come back again.
It's been really difficult for live musicians in Melbourne during that period. And of course in America at the moment, they're in a terrible state with the virus as well. And so I've been participating and watching a few live open mics via the internet from the States, and people lock into that open mic from all over the world, and it's quite good how people are finding ways around the problem, and in some ways it's connecting some people who may not have otherwise been connected internationally.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good thing about the power of the internet as well, isn't it? You can connect with people, and that's why I'm doing these promotional interviews as well, to help musicians, to help artists, just support them in their projects and their latest releases, which is why you're on now, which you caught my eye on Twitter.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Yes. And good on you for doing that, because right now, independent musicians need all the help they can get.
Exactly. That's what. Yeah. I'm doing this independently, so it's off me and back.
Yes, it's something that you enjoy. enjoy
exactly,
doing?
Yeah. Well, I used to be a radio presenter.
Okay. Yes.
In England here, and Hermitage FM and Phoenix Hospital Radio. So I was doing them, and then the lockdown happened. Obviously, it all stopped, and I thought, you've got to do something. So this is it, you know.
Yes. Oh, good for you. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. So let's learn more about you then, Byron. Back in the 80s, you was a lead guitarist, weren't you, for various indie bands?
Yeah, that's right. So I started playing guitar in school, in primary school actually, and then in my teens was joining garage bands, and then started playing, properly and gigging, in my late teens, and I was in a band called 13 at Midnight, which we found out later is actually the name of a band from the UK as well, which was such
which I read on your website. Not to be confused. I love that.
Quite an unfortunate coincidence, because whenever anybody tries to Google it, they get the other band, because we were sort of pre-internet. And but that was probably the most successful band that I was in during that time. We had an album out through a Melbourne label called Rampant Records. We had a single that went top 10 on the alternative charts here. And we used to play a lot around Melbourne. We didn't really tour, but Melbourne's a really vibrant live music city, and so we had lots of opportunities to play live, and it was really good.
And then, of course, some of them went on to play in the band Stone and Wood. She said,
Things of Stone and Wood. So I went overseas, just traveling, and the guys that I'd been playing with in 13 at Midnight stayed together and formed Things of Stone and Wood, and they had a very successful single called Happy Birthday Helen, which actually the most popular location for that song was in Canada, and so they toured Canada, and I think that song went top 10 in Australia as well. So I'm kind of like the Pete Best Beatles of the Pete Best of that band, but that's okay. I was really happy for their success, and it was great, to see those people that I'd played with go on and have that 15 minutes of fame, if you like. Yeah, and so from that period on, sort of life got in the way for me. I had a family and was working, and so I kept writing and making music in the background. But it wasn't really until this year that I thought, well, now's the time to get the songs that I've written together and start recording them and putting them out. And I found it to be quite a lot easier a process than I expected to record and get stuff onto Spotify and the other streaming platforms.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, actually, in contrast to being in a band and solo, what do you prefer? As the projects come out and work and writing, what do you prefer being in the band or playing in the band or playing?
It's actually a fantastic question. Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to both. There's nothing quite as exciting as playing to a large audience of people and just rocking out. Like, it's a fantastic feeling, and seeing everybody seeing that immediate feedback right in front of you. That is a real buzz. And so that's great fun. And even just playing with other musicians in a smaller setting is always fun, jamming. But I've really enjoyed the creative process of recording. I do everything here I'm sitting in my studio at the moment, which is in my lounge room. So there are a couple of speakers either side of me. There's some guitars in the background, and I do everything on the computer that I'm talking to you on at the moment. And
you can never have too many guitars, by the way.
That's exactly right. Yeah. No, I have a little slight problem that I probably need some help with in terms of guitar purchasing.
Is it an obsessive disorder?
Yes, a bit of a disorder. Might need to get some professional help for that. Yes.
I love it. That's no problem to me, man. That's all right.
So I've learned how to use what they call a DAW, a digital audio workstation. I use one called Logic Pro X, and basically it's like a multi-track recording system on your computer. You can lay down all the different instruments and then mix them together. and I'm not an expert at mixing. So what I do is I record everything here, and then I send my material off for somebody to mix it together and make it sound really cohesive, and also make it suitable for, in terms of production quality, to compete with other people on Spotify and the streaming services.
So do you play all the instruments yourself then? Drums, bass, guitars?
Yeah, so the drums are programmed, but the drum programming now within this Logic system is so good. It sounds like a real drummer, and so that's fantastic. So yes, I play them, but I don't physically play them. And so I play the bass, the keyboards, all the guitars, and do all the vocals as well. The only exceptions are sometimes I had a guy help me on my song Safe From Home to do some backing vocals. And I've also had some guest spots. I had a bass player play on In Your Eyes, which is my latest single.
Yes.
And I also had a keyboard player and a pianist help me out. Actually, there is one song where I used real drums, and that was Protest Song, where that was recorded in an actual studio off-site, and we had a drummer come in for that, which was good. Yeah.
And I like the way you've put thoughtful alternative pop.
Yes,
is the right word. I thought you were going to say alternative indie, but it's actually pop. So fair enough.
Yeah. So that's right. I mean, indie. It's become a genre, but actually, what it means is that you're an independent musician. You're not connected to any label or any particular management or anything like that. You're doing everything yourself. It's do it yourself. And there's been a real upsurge of independent producers during the COVID lockdowns globally, which has been fantastic. There's been heaps of brand new music coming out, lots of really great stuff. And it's been good from that point of view that people have had that opportunity to spend that time, and they've had nothing else to do. They've been locked at home, so why not use that time productively as you have. Yeah.
And you too. I mean, you've got a little EP out, haven't you? Is it an EP or we're going with album?
No, I don't. I don't have an EP out. So what I've been doing is just releasing singles individually, and I've sort of figured out that may be the best strategy for me. When I first started, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just kind of like made stuff and then put it straight out onto the streaming platforms through a service called DistroKid, which is a distribution company. So you send the song to them, and then they send it out to all the different places. And there's lots of them. There's some that I have never even heard of. So you've got places like Tidal, you've got Apple Music, you've got Amazon Music, Spotify, of course. And then there's a string of others as well that are sort of barely known, but people use them. Yeah. And Bandcamp as well. Yeah.
I think I got confused with the EP because you've got like 4 songs out there, 5?
Yeah, 5. So
that's right. Yeah. That's where I got a little bit confused there.
Yeah. So when you go into Spotify, you see all those 5 songs in a row. So it's a logical conclusion to sort of draw that they're all together, but they've actually been released at different periods of time. So and some of them I rushed out, and I sort of thought, well, maybe I should have left a bit more time to promote that previous song before I put a new one out. So I'm looking as I go along about the best process, and I'm finding that about a 3-month break between songs seems to be kind of the ideal spot, the sweet spot, because that gives me time to pre-promote the single through the different social media platforms. Then I release it, and then I can post-promote it as well and drive people to go and have a listen to it. And I think it works better for me than an album, for example, because it gives me time to create those songs. I can put one out, I can focus on that, and at the same time I can be working on the next one. And that's a good strategy for me. Yeah.
And tell us about how your songwriting process is. I'm not going to ask you how you write a song, because nobody knows the answer to that. I wouldn't know the answer to that. I write songs and I don't know how it happens. But how would you say your process works? Would you say lyrics come first, chords?
Yeah, well, actually, the way it works is I'll be sitting around on the couch with my guitar, and I'll just be sort of noodling around with a chord progression, and then I'll start singing a melody over the top of it. And often that melody will just be nonsense lyrics to start off with.
Yeah.
And from those nonsense lyrics, an idea might come. But generally what happens is I write the melody and the chord progression, and then I think about what it is I want to say. And there's lots of things that I want to say. You know, I'm always thinking about different things, philosophical things and that sort of stuff. And so then I try and catch onto a theme and then write around that. So that the theme, for example, I have a song called Unhappy Accident. And
Yes.
And so the theme around that is sort of, that was written in a moment of feeling a little bit sorry for myself, I suppose. And so it was all about this idea of somebody who felt like they shouldn't be in the world, like there's no place for them, that they feel dispossessed or, not connected to the world. And so that then led to all the other lyrics within that. And it's lyric writing is something that I take quite seriously. So it takes me a while to work on those lyrics, and I just keep trying different things, playing around with them, crossing stuff out, writing other stuff in until it sits and it feels right to me. Yeah.
Now here's a question as well. When they're recorded and they're laid down, you've got all it down, and then it comes out and you get it released. Is there ever a time when you listen to it back and think, "Oh, I could have put a different line in there, or give them guitar"? Or is it? You're always trying to create the perfect song, aren't we?
Yes, I think there are always those little things where you go, "Oh, I wish I'd hit that note a bit better," or yeah, exactly. So yeah, that definitely happens, and it's certainly the case from when I listened to the early stuff that I was doing. It's always, to me, and I think this is a good thing, it always feels like the song that you're working on now or have just put out always seems like the most exciting and the best song that you've done, the best thing you've done. Because the other things, you sort of put them out, they're there, and you kind of move on. So yes, I have listened to some things and had a couple of cringe moments, but I think most artists would likely say the same thing. I know there's a lot of singers who don't like the sound of their own voice, for example. Yet, there've been people in history like Bob Dylan and Neil Young who haven't had the best voices, but they've been amazingly successful, and rightly so, because they're fantastic artists and they create wonderful words and beautiful music. So I think sometimes it's easy to get hung up on trying to create perfection, but in fact, it's the imperfections that brings things their humanity as well.
My suggestion is just go with your instinct. What comes out works for me. Who would you say is your pin-up artist, your number one idol?
I'd have to say Nick Cave.
Wow. Okay, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Yeah.
Yes. Now, Nick Cave's from Melbourne originally, and so I feel a bit of an affinity with him from that point of view. But I've also sort of watched his career from when he was in punk bands and, the Birthday Party and the Boys Next Door. And I've seen him just mature as an artist and as a person. And I just am always blown away by how thoughtful and thought-provoking his lyrics are, how wonderful the music is as well, and the way he gathers these amazing musicians around him, like his connection with Warren Ellis, who plays fiddle and various other instruments in his band, has really brought another dimension to his music. And I've heard his voice improve over time as well, and he's actually now a really, really, really good singer. And so people often, when you mention Nick Cave, they'll say, "Oh, it's just depressing stuff." But
the red right hand.
Yes.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, the red right.
He's a great writer.
He is.
And one of his sayings was, the best song to write is after you've wrote one. So when you finish writing a song, your next one comes easier.
Yeah, right. Okay, I haven't heard that quote.
What he's saying. Yeah.
I think that's true. And in fact, Jeff Tweedy is another hero of mine who's in a band called Wilco in the USA. And he's just brought out a book called How to Write One Song. And it's a very similar philosophy to that. It's like if you can get through one song, then the next one will come. It's sort of a lot of people. It's like the people you speak to at parties who talk about, how they've been writing a novel, but the novel stays in the bottom drawer and never actually gets published. And I think it's that thing. Yeah, it's that thing of taking that bold step and having the courage to actually put it out to the world. Once you've broken that barrier, then I think, and you get some nice feedback, or you just feel proud in yourself that you've achieved that, then that opens the floodgates and you think, I can do more of this. And you can see that it's very possible to do.
One of the great things I saw on your website there was the song Set Me Free.
Yes.
Right, which is great, by the way. I've heard it on YouTube. Fantastic song.
Thank you.
But you say when it all gets too much, is this where you come from the writing of the song? Because you say when it all gets too much, it's likely you want to wish it all away and find your own path.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that song, it's a really unusual structure, that song, and I'm not quite sure how this came about, but it's the only song I've ever written that doesn't have a chorus.
Doesn't it?
No,
I would never have known. It was
So and it wasn't until long after I put it out that I realized that. I thought, hang on, there's no chorus in this song. And so what it's doing is it's ruminating on choices and decisions that you've made in your life. Like the first line is, what if all the right words were the ones you never said? And what if all your true loves were what if your one true love was the one you never met? And it's it's kind of like this idea that you're ruminating on life and thinking about all these things, and you sort of want, and it's almost like, am I thinking these things because societal expectations are on me to be a particular way or to think a particular way? Or should I just accept what's happened, be myself, and be free from all those expectations? And that's really what Set Me Free is about.
Wow. It could also ruminate with regrets as well. Having regrets of things that you haven't done. Yeah, exactly. That's a really good concept of a song and good lyrics.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I do enjoy the process of writing, and I enjoy looking at other people's lyrics as well. And I admire the poetry within people's lyrics, which is one of the reasons I like Nick Cave, because his poetry, he's very poetic. He says things in roundabout ways that are very poignant and make you think about things from a different perspective.
Like Set Me Free did when I was listening to it.
Thank you. That's very kind. That's good to hear.
And the new single In Your Eyes,
yes.
one of the lines there, it's like when your smile drops to one side on the side. Yeah. And you got a frown there.
Yes.
And then you can see all this going on in the eyes. That's another great track. Now I've heard it a few times, and I'm going, who does it remind me of? Who does it remind me of? And I'm thinking, Traveling Wilburys.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's what goes for me, with George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Roy Orbison, and Tom Petty.
Because of the harmony aspects. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a cracking little song, In Your Eyes.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's got a bit of a Beatlesque flavour too at the end, with the kind of call and response harmony thing. And that wasn't the call and response harmonies, and those big harmonies at the end weren't in my mind. Even when I started recording it, it kind of evolved through the recording process, and I was layering things on top of each other. And then that harmony vocal line came, and it just sort of blossomed from there. And it's funny, because all those harmonies are me. So, yeah, which is
there's no backing singer there. It's just you.
No backing singers. Wow. No, it's all me. So I'm just singing in different registers, and that's one of the joys of this creative process, is that you can create a whole band by yourself on your own, and it sounds like a group, and it's quite an exciting process. It's fun to do.
And In Your Eyes is available on most platforms, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
For people to get it.
All the streaming platforms. Yep.
Yeah. Like I say, I saw it on Twitter, and that's where I came across you. And then the video for it. Where did you do that?
Okay. Yeah. So the video, it's mostly stock footage, actually. So I made it myself in iMovie, but I cobbled together various elements of it from different places. So the vision of the woman on the bed in that video is from a stock video library, and it takes a long time to find the right footage. Like, I spend a lot of time searching for the right images on the internet, and then the actual, there's a lot of text tricks in that video as well, and they're done in a program called After Effects. So I had somebody else do those for me. And what's the other element in that? There's another element that I can't quite recall at the moment. But
you did the lyrics over the video as well.
Yeah,
there's 2 videos out, isn't there? There's 2 videos to it, isn't there? Because I know on YouTube you've got 2 versions of it.
Oh, that's right. It's stop frame animation. The small version was the teaser video. So that I used that to promote the single before it came out. And it's the intro bit where these pieces of paper that are screwed up come onto the screen, and then they open up using time lapse to say "In Your Eyes," Byron Smith. So it's kind of like the opening title of a movie, for example. But the idea of that movie, that video with the notes and everything in it, there's all the handwritten notes and things, is this idea that, you know, a couple is living together, the man's seeing the woman fall out of love with him, and the notes are kind of symbolic of messages that are being left around the house by one or other of the partners, and sort of that domestic scene, if you like, of messages that are not spoken but are seen. And that's what happens with him in that song, is that he recognizes that she's falling out of love with him, and he sees it in her eyes and her mouth, her smile falling down at the sides.
And I see it in your eyes that your lover's died. You know,
yes,
that's brilliant.
Thank you. It's very kind of you to say. And so, yeah, and that idea of the smile falls down at the side, I like it when other artists describe things in ways that they haven't been described before. I know there's a song by Phoebe Bridgers. No, it's not Phoebe Bridgers. It's a song. It's a band called Daughter, and she sings about "And You Broke My Chest," and it's kind of like when your heart's broken.
Heart's chest, yeah.
Yeah, and just using that different word and a piece of, you know, anatomical description, it just had more power for me, because everyone's heard, you know, the idea of breaking someone's heart has become a bit hackneyed now. So when somebody says it in a different way that you haven't heard before, it really resonates, and you go, wow, that's really what it feels like. It feels like someone's broken your chest when you have that heartbreak.
It adds a new dimension to the song, doesn't it? Completely.
It really does, yeah. And so
here's the tough question. Here's a really tough question for you now.
Okay.
Out of all your songs that you've done so far, that you've got put out there, what's your favourite? What's your personal favourite?
That's an interesting one. Yeah.
I know some people don't like the question.
No, that's okay. It is a really good question. I think "In Your Eyes," the latest one, is the one that I feel is probably the most accomplished in terms of a full package of a song. It kind of starts sort of very openly with just the vocals and a bit of guitar, and it builds throughout. And then when it gets to the bridge, it has this kind of transition where you can feel it going up a ramp, and then it just takes off. And I really like that. It's sort of that the dynamics of the song excited me when I finished it. And I thought, yeah, that's good, you know, that I've been able to achieve that effect. So that was good. In terms of lyrics, I think, as you've pointed out, "Set Me Free" is a nice, what I would call a nice piece of poetry, because it's sort of ruminating about, it's philosophical lyrics, if you like, about life. And so it was nice to be able to express those feelings through that song as well.
I was just going to say, actually, Set Me Free and In Your Eyes, I'm torn between which is my favourite.
Oh, that's great.
I've listened to them a few times during the last weekend, or the weekend just gone. I was like, I cannot think which is my favourite here. So
Yes.
Byron, help me out. I don't know which one to go for.
I wish I could help you.
Both of them are so good. And if they was in a competition and I had to vote for one, I don't know if I could do it. I'd be like, both of them.
And it's interesting because they're very different styles in a way. I don't mean to write in different styles. It's just whatever comes out, as you mentioned before.
Because Set Me Free is more of a ballad.
Yes.
Of an easy, soft rock sort of ballad. And then In Your Eyes is more poppy. So
that's right.
I just
That's okay. Well, for me, that's a great dilemma that you're having. I'm really glad that you like both
thanks
of them.
for that. Yeah.
It's very gratifying as an artist to hear that.
All the top artists go through the same thing, man.
Yes. That's true. My next song, which is coming out on the 27th of January, is called Be Brave. And
yes, I've seen that advertised.
Yeah, it's more of a ballad as well. And it's kind of, it does a similar thing to Set Me Free in that it sets the scene of things that are happening, that are going, it's almost like a parent talking to a child and saying, bad things are going to happen to you in your life, but ultimately you need to have resilience and courage to get through them. And I think it's kind of pertinent in the current crisis that we're going through in terms of the global pandemic, that a lot of people have had to really dig deep and find resilience and courage to cope with that massive change to their lifestyle. Yeah.
And just got to keep going as well and keep writing, just keep persevering.
That's it, grinding on. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. There's a song there, Grinding On. There you go.
Yes. For sure.
I was giving an interview to David Nell in America the other day, and I gave him 3 titles in 30 seconds. I said, there you go, you got 3 titles for free there. I said, I was like, wow, that's just incredible. But yeah. And again, I'm so lucky to get such great musicians that I talk to. The other day, last week, I was speaking to George Wilson. I don't know if you know who George Wilson is. But he found fame in England with Grange Hill and Brookside.
Okay.
Them 2 big shows that were in Britain.
Yes.
And Owen Paul, I interviewed on Saturday.
Okay.
Owen Paul sang My Favourite Waste of Time in the 80s.
Oh, yes.
And he was number 3 in the UK charts. And I was like, I'm sitting there going, I'm interviewing Owen Paul here. What is going on? It's crazy.
That's great.
That's the beauty of the internet. That's beauty.
It is. And the fact that, it's whatever time in the morning in the UK at the moment and it's the evening here. And we're talking live to each other in real time, and there's no time lag or anything. It's just incredible.
We don't have to wear a face mask or no social distancing. It's great.
Yeah, one of the things that's been happening during this pandemic is a lot of musicians have been collaborating, and they do it over the internet as well. So, someone will do the drum bit and the bass, and then they'll send it to someone else who'll do the keyboards and put the vocals on. And in fact, I'm working on one of those for the moment. We're doing a Christmas song. We're doing a version of Feed the World. Yeah, just for a bit of fun for Christmas. So we're all dialing in from different parts of the world and sending music files off. And there's some poor guy over in America somewhere putting it all together like a jigsaw puzzle.
He's got all that work to do over Christmas, Byron.
I know, and the Christmas deadline coming down on him, poor thing.
Yeah. All right,
Byron.
Well, thank you very much for your time. That was a great interview. And best of luck with In Your Eyes and all your singles that are out at the minute.
Thank you.
And your new one coming up. We'll speak about, and if you want, we'll speak about the up and coming one closer to the time.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. I'd appreciate that. Thanks so much, Byron. It's really good to meet you.
Yeah, and you, Byron. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Good day. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.